Hi, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do a quick review on the Walther PPQ chambered at 9mm. Let's go ahead and check it out. This one's an all black gun with the polymer grip frame and the metal slide. So we'll go ahead and go through some of the features real quick. I'd say this is about a mid-sized gun. We'll go ahead and go through some of the features real quick. With the muzzle pointed to the left, we'll start at the top of the slide. And at the front you can find your pretty standard single white dot sight. This has got a pretty big bright white dot. And it is replaceable, but it's not adjustable. And as you slide your finger down the top of the slide, you'll feel some serrations in the top of the slide. And then when we get to the rear, you're going to find a pretty basic U-cut 2-dot white sight. They give you a little quick sight picture. These are replaceable and these are adjustable with your little set screw there. And then we'll go back to the muzzle end of the gun and come along the slide. The slide is serrated on both sides. And here on the left hand side at the front, the serrations, right in the middle of the serrations, it's got the banner, the Walther banner cut into the serrations. So they cut out, looks like 4 of the serrations. Now if you're interested in press checking or running the gun from the front of the slide, your finger's probably going to slide across that. So that might be something to keep in mind if you like to do that kind of stuff. Then in the middle of the slide it's engraved PPQ. And then at the end of the slide it's got some basic serrations. Now these are actually cut kind of deep, and you definitely get a good grip on there. The slide moves pretty standard for what I would consider about a mid-sized gun. Really smooth, really nice. We'll go back to the muzzle end of the gun on the grip frame. You can see the Picatinny rails got some cut in the tops here for your attachments or whatever, and it's got 3 Picatinny cuts in the bottom for your light, your laser, chainsaw, whatever you like to put on there. And as we slide back along the grip frame, we'll come to the middle of the gun right below the ejection port, and you'll notice some grooves cut right there, this little tab we'll call it. It does wrap all the way around the gun. This is your takedown lever, so we'll go ahead and talk about that just a little bit later. And right behind the takedown lever is going to be your slide stop or slide release, whichever you like to call it. This one's elongated and it's really active. It's easy to activate and slap your finger across it. It's also ambidextrous, and if you use it with your pointer finger on the other side, it works just as well. It does have a nice little shelf on there, some grooves cut into it, so you'll definitely catch with your fingers. And then at the back of the grip frame is going to be your dovetail or your beaver tail, and my hand fits right in there perfectly, and you can see that there's quite a bit of clearance, almost maybe a ½ an inch of clearance, so there's really no chance I'm going to get slid bit. Now we go back to the muzzle end of the gun. Down at the bottom where the trigger well starts, the front of the trigger well has got some serrations cut in it for those people that like to rest their finger on the front. It's a flat face trigger well and a flat bottom trigger well as well, but the well is actually quite large, so I would imagine if you're shooting outside in the winter and you got a big heavy glove on, you should still be able to access the trigger without setting the gun off. And then we'll go ahead and talk about the trigger just a little bit later. Behind the trigger well is going to be your magazine release. Now I'm not sure if you can switch it to the other side of the gun. Right now it's currently on the left hand side because I'm a right-handed shooter, and it's really nice. The magazines slide right out just like they're supposed to. Then the grip itself has got some like rubberized grip tape on it. It's not like the sandpaper grip tape like you'd find on a skateboard or whatever. And it gives you a real tacky feeling, so I'd imagine if your hand is wet then you still have a nice grip on it. So I like that quite a bit, and it's wrapped all the way around. Then it's got a little PPQ cut down at the bottom of it where the trigger well is, or the magazine well, sorry about that. On the front, you'll notice there's a couple little bumps cut, but they're not exactly finger grooves, so you don't have to worry about falling your fingers in there. And my hand just lands right on here really, really nice. Super comfortable gun for me. We'll go ahead and talk about the trigger now. Ghost Tactical, and I'll leave links to Ghost YouTube and Odyssey channels in the description below. Definitely go check him out. He did a video about this a while back and really raved about the trigger. He thought it was a fantastic trigger, and I kind of started thinking maybe Ghost is going a little too far, because usually anything Ghost recommends on a gun or talks about a gun is usually really on point, and he really enjoyed this trigger, so I was kind of thinking maybe he was being over dramatic. A friend of mine brought one of these guns to the range and I was able to put a magazine through it, and Ghost was 100% right. This trigger is amazing. And we'll get to that right now, so we'll go ahead and rack the slide, and I'll be quiet. You can see it doesn't slop around or anything like that. It's got a dingus on it, and as you come back you'll hear it click just a little bit, but it's not hitting a wall. There's no tension there, and it's just a clean pull right through, nice and smooth. I don't know what the weight is, but that's not really that important to me. And then the reset, nice, short, audibly loud, and then another real clean pull through the trigger. This ranks right up there. I'd probably put my Shadow 2 at #1 trigger, and then this, the SP01 Omega, and my Beretta APX are all tied for second for best triggers. Obviously, the Shadow is what it is, so comparing this to the Shadow trigger is a little unfair. But now we'll go ahead and show you how to take it apart. Now, if you go back to that little tab that was right below the ejection port, you can feel it. Now, you don't need to rack the slide or anything for this. The Security 9, the Ruger Security 9, I thought was the easiest gun to take down. And once I get a little bit more comfortable with this, I might even fumble in this video a little bit. I think this will probably end up being the easiest one to take down. The Ruger Security 9 is really easy, but all you do, I put my finger on the right hand side of the gun, my pointer finger, and my thumb on the left hand side of the gun, and then pull down, and you should be able to hear it click. You could hear it click, and then you pull the trigger. I already had the trigger pulled, so, but you would pull the trigger and the slide would bump off, and then that way you can inspect your grip frame, do whatever you need to do, and clean that. The slide's pretty heavy. The grip frame doesn't weigh anything. This has got the captive spring inside the guide rod. Now, this guide rod is plastic, but I don't know if it's showing up on camera, but it's not round. It's almost cut like a T almost. So maybe that gives a little bit more stability. I'm not really sure. And then you just bump out the barrel. This is a pretty hefty barrel, nice and substantial. I like that. It feels pretty sturdy. Pop it back in, set it in place, put your spring back in. There you go. And then you grab your grip frame, and then real simple, just line it back up with your guide rods, rock the slide, and check that fantastic trigger again. And we'll go real quick just over some of the stuff that came with it. This is the hard case that came with it, and the reason I'm showing such a crappy picture is it's still got some personal information stuck to the front of the box, and I don't really want to give that out. Then there's the little clasp on the side that have nice serrations on it. Slide off real easy. You got your foam inserts. This is the first gun that I've ever bought that actually came with a factory target, and it looks like whoever was shooting did a pretty good job, because that's a nice group. Now, let's see, does it say how far? 15 meters with 9x19. So that's the first. Then it came with the instruction manual and such. It came with the chamber flag. This came with two 15-round double stack magazines. I like that quite a bit. It's got the red follower in it. Then it came with the magazine assist. Little piece of plastic. Everybody's pretty familiar with these. It's got Walther logo and stippling all over it. Then it came with two extra back straps. Now, this back strap right here, I'm going to try all three just to see which one I like best, but this one right here will probably be what I'm going to rank #2. The one that's on it right now is going to be ranked #1. And if you'll notice that the bubble, it flares out near the top as opposed to the other one flared out near the bottom, but this has a beaver tail or dovetail on the bottom, and you can see the bottom of my hand fits right on there just perfectly. So I would imagine that I'm going to like this quite a bit. It does have some of the stippling all the way around it as well. And then the one that I'm going to guess that I won't like, because I really don't like the skinny ones, but I'll call this one a flat one, even though you can see it's not flat. It's just not flared out nearly as much, and it doesn't have the beaver tail at the bottom. So I'll try it, and it does have the stippling on it. I'm going to guess this is probably going to be my least favorite. Then real quick, I want to give a big thanks to the people that helped me get this gun. I talked to a friend of mine. I'm not going to name any names because I didn't talk about it prior, so I don't want to put their business out there without their permission. But I did talk to a friend of mine extensively. He probably got tired of hearing me talk about it. And he had a friend who I'm also friends with that had one for sale, and I bought it from them. So thank you guys very much. I appreciate both of you dearly. And thanks for watching. Feel free to leave some comments.